Hello, I'm Sophie D'Souza. Welcome to my channel, Sophie Stained Glass. If this is your first time joining me, welcome. Lots of videos about architectural glass. I've organised them into playlists so that you can find the things you're interested in a bit more easily. I post on a Tuesday and a Friday, and hit the bell below if you want to be notified. Today's video is about tools. What is your essential toolkit for working with leaded glass? What is absolutely essential and what is nice to have? Because I know when you start out in a craft, getting all the tools is quite a big expenditure. So we'll start with a glass cutter. Now, a decent glass cutter should cost you about £20. You can buy this sort of thing, and I'm going to attempt to cut with this, and we're going to see how it works. This sort of thing is a couple of quid, very, very cheap. So let's see if it works. Well, it didn't like the ruler, but it worked. It's got a little diamond at the end, but unlike this one, this has got a diamond wheel. This has just got a little point. You could improve how this cuts by dipping it in oil before you cut with it, because the great thing about this is inside this handle here is oil. So this is an oil-fed cutter, and it's sprung, and that's the valve. So as you press, it releases oil, and that lubricates your cut, and that's why you get a better cut with something like this. There's all sorts of styles of glass cutter on the market, and they tend to differ in the way you hold them, different shaped handles, and I guess you just try and find the one you're most comfortable with. If you go to a glass shop, they will advise you what are their popular models. So, number one, essential, is a glass cutter. Number two, ruler with foam on the back. I made this ruler with foam on the back. It's about 99p to buy a metal ruler. And then you can buy a sheet of this foam from Wilkinson's for about £3. You can get a big sheet and you stick it on the underneath. It's really very simple to make. And then that means if you want to buy a long ruler, you can make yourself a long ruler with sticky on the back, and it's cheaper than buying a bespoke stained glass ruler. But I would recommend that, because if you try and use a normal ruler, it will slip. The next thing I'd say is essential, roses. There's just no other way sometimes to make your break, especially if you're really near the edge of glass. So you need grozers. I suppose they're about £10. Then you need a fid. I love fids. They are very cheap, a couple of quid, and they look like this as well. My preference is for the ones that look like this. Very cheap, but a lovely tool to have. Lead cutters. Now they come in different shapes and sizes, and the one I prefer is this because it doesn't squash the lead so much. I'll just show you. So open this with a fid. Right, so there we go. That's what the end looks like. Can you see that? So let's see how it looks if I cut it with these cutters. Now, I think you can see that it's squashed it. So let's open it out again and try it with this. This is your traditional lead knife. It's quite hard to do it at a distance because you need a lot of force. And again, not a particularly pleasing cut. So let's try it with this one. Now I'd say that's the best of the lot. So that's why I prefer this lead cutter. But this has its place, and I'll show you why. Quite often you only need to take off 1 millimetre, and you can't take off 1 millimetre with this. What I find these are good for is you cut the bottom, you flip it over, and then you cut again, and that way you can cut off 1 millimetre, and look, beautiful, isn't it? Not squashed at all. So although I'd say that's the one you definitely need, it would also be nice to have this one. So I'm going to put this on this side because this is nice to have, this is essential. So I'm going to put that on nice to have. These are running pliers, and actually I did without these for years. So I'm going to put those in the nice to have, not the essential pile. This is an oyster knife, and it's very good for some things, but I think it does very much the same sort of job as the Fid, and this is a bit more expensive, so I'm going to put that in the nice to have, not the essential. Oh yes, can't do without one of these. This is your most expensive bit of kit. This is your soldering iron. This one was about £120, and it's the Weller 100. You can get cheaper versions, so have a little skim around on eBay, and I'll ring around a few shops. You can get cheaper versions. You don't want the sort of soldering iron that you use for metal work in general. That's a different kind of iron. And you want a specific iron for leaded work. Very nice to have a square. You can get smaller ones. If you're cutting a lot of right angles like that, this is a beautiful thing to have, but not essential. You can do the same thing with a ruler. So I'm going to put this in the nice to have pile. Right, a rubber hammer. This is for hitting home your glass into your lead without smashing your glass. Obviously you can hit the nails in with this side, but you hit the glass with the rubber side. I have found other ways of hitting the glass home. So if your glass is in place in your lead, if you put a piece of lead on the other side, you can put a Fid or an oyster knife and hit it home that way. So you can get away without a rubber hammer if you use this method for hitting your glass home. But that's a nice to have. I'm assuming you'll all have a hammer at home, because you will need a hammer of some sort for the horseshoe nails. You don't actually need horseshoe nails. Why they're good is because they've got a flat profile. So they've got a slightly wider surface area to go against the glass. But actually, if you put a tiny piece of lead between the glass and the nail, you can use any nail. But they're sort of charming in their own way. So those are nice to have, not essential. The other sorts of things you need are household items that you probably have. So a little wire brush if you need to clean up the joints before you solder. Oh, I should have said tallow. You need tallow, so that's essential, but it's cheap. So little wire brush, scrubbing brush to polish up afterwards, and you can't really get away without your great polish. Well, you can. No, I'm going to put that in nice to have, not essential. If you've got enough pigment in your cement, then this brush will be adequate. Dustpan and brush. Again, just a household item that you need. And you need a scrubbing brush or a nail brush or something for rubbing the cement into your lead. you know, under £1. So I think that's it. I'll be really cross with myself if I've forgotten anything, but I don't think I have. So this is my essential pile. Glass cutter, grocer, ruler, fid, brush, lead knife, tallow, scrubbing brushes, soldering iron. And this is my nice to have but not essential. Running pliers, hammer with a rubber end, other varieties of lead knife or snips, oyster knife, great polish, square. So I hope that is comprehensive. If you think I've forgotten something, maybe your favourite tool, let me know. So I hope you found this helpful. Please like, comment and subscribe, and check out my other videos.